Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for October 21st, 2025. Well, hey, I hope everyone had a great time while I was gone. Boy, the market was really ripping, particularly yesterday. What a move yesterday. Hope everyone had a good time. Back in the saddle here, so let's see if I can crank this thing up and remember how to do all this morning. Let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets, good night last night. We had Australia up 62.80 or 0.70%. Hong Kong rallied 168.72, 0.65% higher. South Korea was up $9.15 or 0.24%. We saw the Nikkei up 130.56, a 0.27%, and that's the excitement over the new prime minister. We have, India up at 25.45 or 0.10%, and Shanghai higher by 52.44 or 1.36% higher. If we take a look at what's going on in Europe, not quite as much as excitement over there. We've got the DAX at the moment down 54.40 or 0.22% so far this morning. FTSE out, however, is higher by $17.43 or 0.19% higher, and the CAC is squeaking a little bit higher here by $8.60 or 0.10%. U.S. futures, on the other hand, we're red across the board here at the moment, but modestly so. Looking at the Dow, currently Dow futures down 43 points. We've got S&P 500 futures down $3.25 and NASDAQ futures down 25.25 after that big rally yesterday. If we take a look at what's going on in our bonds here this morning, our bonds are just a little bit lower. We've got the 2-year bond coming in at 3.46%. The 10-year bond is coming in at 3.97%, and that 30-year bond is coming in at 4.56% here this morning. Now, as a result, we have that U.S. dollar moving to the upside here today. Nice little bullish pop here, continuing to move on through. We found some support in here, trying to hold that upside trend. Keep an eye on the dollar moving up this morning. Now, that's having some negative impacts here in gold today after a zooming move yesterday. Gold pulling back, and rightfully so. This is very, very stretched here to the upside. But boy, I wouldn't count it out yet completely, because there has been an awful lot of interest here in gold. Right now, gold futures are down 86.70 an ounce here at the moment. So getting a pretty strong pullback here today. If we take a look at silver, silver futures also getting a pretty strong pullback here, down $2.29. That's a whopper of a move for silver, coming in at 49.06 an ounce here on silver. If we take a look at copper, we've got copper just a little bit lower here this morning, down about 5 cents here on copper. Been kind of pulling back here to come back into this upside trend. We'll see if that holds in there. Platinum is also lower here this morning, gapping substantially lower. Right now down 62.70 an ounce, 3.79% lower here this morning, pulling back. Now we might find a little bit of price support in here, so watch that carefully. And then palladium also sharply lower here this morning, 77.30 an ounce lower at the moment. Once again, might try to catch a little bit of price support in there on palladium, so watch that carefully. If we take a look at what's going on here in cryptos this morning, well, cryptos are having a rough day as the dollar strengthens here. If we look at Bitcoin here, right now we've got Bitcoin down 2,794.41 a coin, or 2.52% lower here this morning, gapping down from yesterday's nice pop up. Ether is also down here this morning, gapping down. Let's see, we're 104.41 lower here, and continuing to show a little bit of that bearish downtrend possibility as we're making lower highs here in ETHA and struggling with resistance in the chart. We've got Solana also lower here this morning, $2.80 lower, or 1.50% lower here today. Let's take a look. Let's see what's going on in oil prices here this morning. If we take a look at USO here, you can see we've got oil trying to bounce back up just a tiny little bit. Right now we're up 55 cents a barrel at 57.57. Obviously, we have a nasty little downtrend in play here on natural gas. Continuing to fall in here, where it looked like we had this chance to break out up here. That's why you don't trust a breakout until you prove that you can hold that higher low. And as you can see, big strong move, making some new lows here recently in USO. Watch that carefully. We need to break that downtrend if we're going to turn this back around. Brent crude at the moment is also up 51 cents at 61.52 a barrel, and natural gas is moving higher, trying to follow through a little bit after the big pop up yesterday, but right now up only about 3 cents on UNG, so keep a close eye on that. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these markets for what they are, not for what we want them to be. We want to shake off that bias and just take a real close look at what's happening in these charts. Well, that big move yesterday, tremendous anticipation of big tech earnings reports. Firing on all cylinders here to the upside, pushing right back up. Although we had this little lower high and we were running into a little bit of that worrisome area here where we could pull back. Boy, we got all kinds of excited yesterday. Broke right through that resistance, pushing straight back up. Unfortunately, we're pushing right back up here into that resistance of the all-time high here in the diamonds and getting just a little bit of hesitation here this morning. So watch that carefully. If the bulls can follow this through to the upside, I would watch that carefully for a breakout up here. New record highs and blue sky above certainly looks very possible there in the diamonds. If the bears were to have anything to say and we were to pull back in here, just remember we've got some support areas right in here. We could easily pull back and test there. I don't think the market would get too concerned unless we took out yesterday's low and fell into that gap. So watch that carefully here on the day, but right now I'm leaning into those bears leaning into those bulls just a little bit, just because of the hyper excitement of big tech reports upcoming. So watch that carefully here in the diamonds. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY, also nice push here to the upside, breaking through resistance in the chart, and we still have to push up here to see if we can break out and get that new record high Every reason to believe that is possible. There's our little upside trend, that big gapping move yesterday. So watch that carefully. If the bulls can push on through, just need to pop up through there and we get a new record high in the SPY. And again, with big tech excitement, that certainly does seem like a possibility. At the same time, if those bears were to have anything to say and push back, pushing back into this area, price support wouldn't cause much of any problem. It would be if we were to break down and start filling that gap, coming back in here to trend. That's where we might get just a little bit of worry in the SPY. And certainly we have the potential for those big moves in the market, so keep a close eye on that. Now if we take a look at our our QQQ, big popping move, new record high close here yesterday on the QQQ, broke right on out. Again, big tech hype and hope in here that they're just going to smoke these earnings, and there's a tremendous amount of excitement on there. So every reason to believe that we can continue to push this on through, get more new record highs here in the QQQ would not be a major surprise. The surprise would probably be if the bears were to have anything to say and we were to push back and retest the low of yesterday's candle. If that were to break and we fall into this gap moving back toward this area of support and upside trend, that's where we'd probably raise a little bit of concern. And remember, whipsaws in a market like this are very possible, so watch that carefully. We still have that uncertainty of the government shutdown, and all of this going on in the world continues to make for a little bit of uncomfortableness in the market, even though it seems like the only thing that matters right now is the hyper intense buying into big tech, hoping for big results. If we take a look at IWM, well, IWM, nice gap up as well. And as you can see, we didn't quite make it up there to that all-time high close, but breaking back through this resistance here in the chart is a good sign. So pushing that up, the bulls can continue to push on through there to the upside. Every reason to believe we could be up here making new record highs here today. If those bulls can follow through. If the bears, however, were to have anything to say, pushing back in here, we've got a nice little area of support right in that area, in that upside trend. If we were to break down below that, we might start working to fill that gap in here on the day, and that might raise a little bit of concern in the market. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX dropped hard the last couple of days here in the market and really pulled back. All of a sudden, fear just dropping out. And again, it's big tech hype that is making that occur. So if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration in here, pulling this fear back, I could easily see a retest of this area of support and this upside trend here in that chart. So watch that carefully here. But if the bears were to come up with any reason to be concerned here about what these big tech reports might do, be careful of those whipsaws back to the upside. These are big potential moves that are possible, so make sure you have a plan to protect yourself. And as I've been saying, stay with the upside trend. But have a plan to protect yourself if that whipsaw does come in here and those bears come back with a vengeance. Let's take a look at our T20s. Our T21-22 indicator in here, as you can see, nice push to the upside there yesterday, but I got to tell you, it wasn't as much as I would have expected in such a big move in the market. We did get back above 50%, so that's a good sign. And if the bulls can find inspiration here today or follow through with this today, then we have that opportunity. We could push right on up through here into that bearish reversal zone or that overextension area in the market. I would like to point out these high peaks here in T21-22. We are approaching a little bit of downtrend resistance right there in T21-22, but I think the hypersensitivity to big tech could still get us pushed through that back up here toward that bearish reversal zone. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say, pushing back a little rest, a little pullback to hold in there around that 50% area would be pretty natural. Wouldn't be a major problem. It would be if we were to start breaking that back down. If we see that whipsaw come in today that whips us back lower, that's where a little bit of concern could come in. But keeping in mind, we have a little bit more opportunity for the bears in room to move than we do the bulls after that big move yesterday. So watch that closely. Our T2108 percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average. This is another thing that I would have expected with such a big move yesterday, that we would have seen those bulls push back in here substantially and really push this back up. So watch that carefully if the bulls can continue that energy here today. Let's see if they can break back above this 40% area here in the chart, start picking up a little bit of price support in here in that chart. See if we can get back through some of those areas. If the bears, however, have anything to say, well, we've got a little price support in here around 30%. Watch that carefully if those bears were to really get going. Let's take a look at our T2107. Now our T2107, we'll want to watch that pretty closely in here. T2107, as you can see, still holding up quite well, pushing back here to the upside, back above 50%. So that's awesome. If they can continue to push on this, let's watch this little downtrend area right here, see if we can break through and we can start getting back above some of this resistance in there around that 55% area here on T2107. T2101. T2101 had a really good bullish push in there yesterday with that big pop and run to the upside. The bulls showing lots of strength there yesterday, following through on that breadth. So watch that carefully. Again, this hyper intensity into big tech reports could create a lot of volatility. So watch that carefully here. If they report well, look for the market to celebrate. If they happen to disappoint, boy, I could see some big point moves just because of the valuations being so high in the market. So watch that carefully in here. If we can break through this area up here in that breadth, that would be good, pushing back up on a bullish wave. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much, everyone. Could be a really busy day for me. I'll try to answer as many of the comments as I possibly can, but please understand, just getting back, I've got my hands full here this morning. But with that being said, thank you to everyone who supports the channel. You guys are truly, truly awesome. Let's take a look at a few of these stocks that could be setting up for today. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, let's take a look at what we've got going on here in our economic calendar today. Our economic calendar, pretty light day. We've got Waller speaking in here. We've got a bond auction and Waller speaking again here toward the end of the day. And that's about it. If we look into Wednesday, we're going to get those mortgage applications, Atlanta Fed business expectations, petroleum status, and some bond auctions with Barr speaking. So really light on that economic calendar. But we are not light on our earnings calendar, really picking up in here. This is just a quick document that I put up today for the notables here this morning. I'm not going to cover all of these. What I would suggest you do is you grab a screenshot, pause the video, grab a screenshot for those notable reports before and after the bell here today. Keep an eye on that. There are a couple in here that we will look at first thing here this morning. Taking a look at Coke moving on up to the upside after reporting, so keep an eye on that. We have General Motors making a really big move here today, popping up, and then things like GE also popping up here today on earnings. So watch those carefully here today. We could get some big moves in these earnings reports because of that real euphoric activity of traders right now. It is exuberance to an extreme here on earnings reports, and at the same time we could have absolute despair if those earnings happen to disappoint. So be careful here and make sure you have a plan. I wouldn't be guessing or betting on a lot of earnings in here. Trade them up into their earnings report, but get rid of them before the earnings because of the potential whipsaws that could occur with the emotion that we see in this market. But let's take a look at some of those stocks that could be setting up for today. And remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market for those potentials of those big point swings here as we move around. First off, let's take a look at some that I cover a lot, but TTWO pushed through my alert here in the chart. Nice little resting consolidation in here. It's not reporting until 11:06, so there's plenty of time on this. If this guy can start moving up toward that earnings report, boy, we've got a nice bullish pattern in there for that, looking good. My UEC pulled back from the high here in the chart, but boy, I don't see anything wrong with this pattern at all. Nice little upside trend continuing here. If we can hold in here on this support and trend, look for that next opportunity there in UEC. I like the way URA pulled back, resting here on support. Might have to take a little bit of a break in here, but I'd keep an eye on some of those uranium plays in here. UUUU is still holding up significantly well, pushing on through here to the upside, worth paying attention to. I'd watch those carefully. And I'm still liking what I'm seeing here in Signet Jewelers. Boy, Signet, nice little push to the upside, pulled back, grabbed onto a little bit of price support here in the chart, continuing to move up yesterday. Watch that carefully. I think there's every reason to believe Signet could move on through to the upside. Keep an eye on that. If we take a look at First Solar, nice little pop of my alert in there and then resting back, but we're still holding in this nice upside trend. I'd keep an eye on those, looking pretty good in here. You might want to take a look at Run. Run is also looking good for that upside move. I'd keep an eye on those, and plenty of time for some of those earnings on those so you don't get caught up in those big whipsaws. Decent looking charts. United Healthcare still struggling in here in this area, but a nice little push yesterday, and you can see we're getting up there toward that 200-day moving average. Up in here, I would watch that carefully. We might run into that 200-day resistance in here. That would complete the rounded bottom breakout. Took a while in this consolidation, but it looks like it may be resuming that upside move to the upside. I'd watch that pretty carefully. Take a look at TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx holding in here nicely. Nice little resting pullback. Looking for that opportunity that could push on through. Costco trying to come up here out of a bottom. Big, ugly candle here the other day, but as you can see, if we can hold this little upside trend in here, we might start bringing Costco back up out of this bottom. I think you still want to be watching carefully that downtrending area here for a little bit of area of concern. If we could pop through there, I'd feel a whole lot better. Kind of like if we take a look at Walmart here, popping through that downtrend and then resting back sets up that opportunity in here for that upside. So keep an eye on Wally. That's looking pretty good. And keep an eye on BTU. BTU has been incredibly strong. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that this has to rest in this range here for a period of time, but that has been very, very strong, worth paying attention to. Watch that closely here as well. Lots of potential there. Freeport, copper, nice little push to the upside, resting back now. I would be a little bit cautious today with the pullbacks that we're seeing in precious metals, that we could see a lot of those miners pull back. But with that pullback in those miners could set up some opportunities here. FCX might be one of those to be paying attention to. How about QSR? QSR, really nice little hold in here. We've been struggling with this resistance up here, but we can't get those sellers to push us down through the support. So if we can get a little bit of bullish activity in here, this is going to report out here 9 days. A little bit of lift or a little bit of run into that earnings report would not be odd. Keep an eye on QSR. Still got to love how GLW is setting up here. This nice little resting consolidation in here as we move back to trend. I'd keep an eye on this. Remember, Corning supplies all of the glass for all of these devices that we carry around, and those devices apparently are getting some sales improvements going on this year, particularly in Apple. So watch that carefully here. Watch that. If that starts to pop and move, I'd keep a pretty close eye on that. BNS, nice little resting consolidation in here. You'll notice this has been running in this upside trend, needed quite a rest in here, but we're coming into that trending area here in the chart. I'd look for that next opportunity there. Take a look at Cleveland Cliffs yesterday. Cleveland had a major pop up here to the upside. Any little rest or pullback in here now looks like an opportunity on Cleveland. And one of the reasons I'd be paying attention to this is all of the building that's going around in the country, all the data centers being built are going to require an awful lot of steel in that construction. So watch that carefully here. I think there's more opportunity. You might take a look at things like Nucor. Nucor has been trying to come up out of this bottom in here, holding this support. Good pop yesterday. I think this needs to break up through that downtrend in here and prove a hold up in here before I get too excited about it. It's going to report on the 27th, so it might be after that report, but watch that carefully. Steel Dynamics would be another that I would pay attention to in here. Nice little resting in here, little choppy consolidation. That's coming, that has gotten past its report. So I would watch that carefully in here on Steel Dynamics, that opportunity that could stretch on higher here in the chart. Worth paying attention to for sure. Lots of other charts out there to pay attention to. The big tech giants moving strongly. AMD breaking through up here, needs a little rest probably before it goes. Apple, big push, going to report in 9 days. Nice stretch through all-time highs heading into that report. Any little rest or pullback may be an opportunity there to trade it up into earnings, worth paying attention to. PLTR still in this resting pattern, reports on 11.3, but watch that. If that pushes through that resistance up there in the chart, certainly worth paying attention to. Alphabet has been holding up here. Well, come on, Alphabet. Uh-oh, I've got a delay in my internet here. Hopefully you guys are still hearing me. There we go. Intel setting up nicely, and I think that could move on through here to the upside. There's Google, and it's just not wanting to give me Google here this morning. finally. Nice little push through there. Any little rest or pullback, I would say, heading into that earnings, this certainly has that opportunity to keep on moving higher because of that hypersensitivity and just tremendous focus into those big techs. Valuations are extremely high, but no one seems to be at all concerned about those valuations. So I would say trade them up into earnings, but I'd be really careful. If they stumble on earnings, there could be some big moves to the downside as well. So watch those carefully. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Thanks for waiting for me as we went through my son's wedding. We had a great time, a very busy time, but it was good. And so thank you to everyone for putting up with me being gone. Y'all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning. I wish you all the very best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail, trading with heart where the profits prevail.